It's April 7th, right at 1 p.m. and Jennifer actually saw this swarm move in. She noticed a whole bunch of commotion in the tree line back behind our house, which is where the bee yard's at. Looks like they've settled in nicely. So the start of swarm number 6. I'll drag the ladder out to this location after work. I will either put one of the larger swarm traps on top of the ladder, or I might just set a 10 frame on top of the ladder to give them a location to move into. But they do look a lot more settled in now than they did about an hour ago. So it's definitely swarm season, folks. It is so cool catching swarms, and this definitely gives me something to do after work today and another project for the weekend. But they are so calm, which is what most swarms are, if you don't know. All right, between this tree and this tree here, which I need to put another swarm trap up there. I have caught 2, 3, I think this is like the fourth of 6 swarms out of these 2 locations, which, if you don't know, they are right outside the bee yard where the stand's at. I don't think that swarm is any of these colonies here, because Jennifer came out when she saw all the flight activity in the tree line here. That's what I was referring to. I don't think it's any of ours, because when she came out, she did not notice any of the hives just dumping bees like a typical swarm would look like. So wherever they're coming from, I appreciate it, because it is helping me restock the bee yard faster than I could ever imagine this year. All right, more to come. This is just the first video in a few for what is swarm number 6. All right, quick update. It's now 4:15. Temperature is about 57 degrees and dropping, mainly because of the weather that we have. It's currently sprinkling a little bit, and you can see they're tightly clustered. So I'm gonna get them into a bigger box. So one of 2 things: they either don't lose interest and fly off, or they perish, which is neither a result that I want from leaving them as they are with the current temperature. So I'm gonna get suited up, get the ladder set up. I think I'm gonna use Bill's box, which is the double deep nuke 5-frame box, to give them the space they need to stay warm. All right, here we go. Trying to think how to do this, is they're clustered around the branch. So maybe just knock them in. Not surprised with how many bees are in there. So now I'm just gonna get the box down and move the frames over, of course. Oh, almost missed a step. All right, so I'm just gonna get moved over pretty quickly. Oh yeah, good Lord, this is a big swarm. check this out for first looks. I forgot this is actually a 5-frame, so I don't need this extra frame I grabbed. All right, let's get them moved over. I'm not even looking. I'm just going to move the frames over. I mean, I am looking very briefly, and in fact, I'll try to show you as I go. But my concern really with the rain and the temperatures we're going to have today into the night and tomorrow, I just wanted to get them moved over into a 5-frame, or actually into the double deep here, so they have more space. No bees should be hanging out on the outside. Let me shake the rest of them in. Okay, pretty much missed half of the box. All right, let's get them closed up. All right, that's it for now. I'm just going to secure the 2 boxes together, reorientate them on top of the ladder like usual. I'll show you all that in a sec. But my main focus was just give them more space due to how big that swarm was. I don't think they would have survived overnight hanging outside the green swarm trap like they were. All right, there we go. That is exactly what I wanted to do. So the majority of the bees are out of that box. There might be a few hanging out. I'm going to take a closer look at some of these small little clusters here. Hopefully the queen is not in there. I kind of doubt she is. I'll check on those later when I actually come home for the day. That's not uncommon to see some bees hanging out where a swarm trap was, but given the size of the colony and the bees that are fanning, I'm 99% sure I have the queen in there. So again, I'll have to check once I come home for the day. But watching the temperature drop with the rain, I was not comfortable leaving the bees as they were, given the size of the swarm trap. Granted, it's a 5-frame, but it's only a single deep. If that was a double deep or one of my red swarm traps, which are approximately 40 liters, even though they're only 4 frames, I would have felt more comfortable about the bees having adequate protection from the colder temperatures. But again, given the size of the green box being a single deep, I've been thinking about it since about noon, in combination with the weather dropping, the temperatures dropping, that they most likely would not have survived into the evening. So, all right, hopefully there's a few weather breaks this weekend to where I can get back out here and get them transferred over into a 10-frame. But as y'all saw, that was a pretty large swarm. Can't wait to really open them up, go through and just see how big they are, and hopefully it's another large swarm queen. All right, next part of swarm number 6's video. So I closed up the entrance maybe about 10 minutes ago, and as you can see, that's all the field bees that are out foraging. The temperature just warmed up. It's about 60 degrees. Humidity is about 62%, and we received 2.75 inches of rain in the last 24 hours. And I am surprised that I'm actually able to get out here with the break of the weather that we have to do anything with the bees. So I closed the entrance up. Like I said, I wanted to see how many bees are actually out foraging, which really isn't too many. I'm gonna give it maybe another 10 minutes before making a decision, but if there aren't too many bees coming back to the entrance to try to get into it, or come back to the hive to try and get into the entrance, I'm gonna go ahead and move the swarm trap over on top of the hive stand, get him into the direct sun. Hopefully that'll prompt more activity, since the sun will be hitting the hive entrance. And let them acclimate to that location, and then maybe later during the week move them into some new equipment, free up this swarm trap, and get this thing rehung, since swarm season this year seems to be pretty darn active. All right, let me finish a few things over in the bee yard, and then I'll make a decision here in the next 10 minutes or so whether or not, like I said, I'm gonna move them now or maybe move them later after dark. All right, so not too many bees out foraging just yet. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and move the swarm trap over on top of the hive stand. And unfortunately, the cutout that I performed last week, a ton of bees, but they did not survive. So who knows what caused them to perish. But with that said, I have a spot open on the hive stand. So I'm just gonna set the swarm trap right there. Same process as usual. Once I move, sorry for the back and forth. Once I move swarm number 5, which is in the double deep 5-frame box right here. Once I move them into the 10-frame, which I already got ready for them right next to their current location. Once I move them over, I'll move swarm number 6 into the double deep 5-frame nuke, so they can basically build up over the course of a week, and then next weekend I'll move them into some 10-frame equipment. But that also gives me a chance to get a swarm box in that location, get a swarm box back in this location. And speaking of these 2 locations, each location has now caught 2 swarms, so it's definitely my interest to get a swarm trap back up in the tree here. So that's all I'm doing today. Just moving swarm number 6 over onto the hive stand and getting swarm traps back up in place. But besides the cutout dying, the rest of the bees, the rest of the hives have some very nice activity, so that's always nice to see. And the bee yard is slowly but surely filling up. All right, I'll keep you posted, especially when I go to transfer number 6 into the double 5-frame nuke and then into some equipment. It's been a few days since I've been able to do anything with the bees, mainly because we had some cold weather move in over the weekend. So it's Wednesday, April 12th, probably about 6:45 in the evening, down here at swarm number 6 to get them transferred into the double 5-frame nuke. Currently this is the swarm trap and they just have 5 frames in the top box. So ended up catching them on April 7th. Saw them move in the midday. My wife actually caught them, and daughter caught them moving in. As you can see, they are very active still and overdue to get moved into a double 5-frame trap. So again, caught them on April 7th. Planned on moving them into the double 5-frame nuke that weekend, but we had some cold weather move in. So they've been in this box for about 4 or 5 days, which isn't terrible. So I'm just gonna let the camera roll. I have my queen clip ready in case I find the queen. I'm definitely gonna give them some smoke because they seem to be a pretty strong colony. But my main goal, really, like all swarms this year, is move the 5 frames from the swarm trap into the double 5-frame deep, let them hang out in there for about a week, and then move them into a 10-frame. That course of action seems to be working pretty well this year, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. But I'm just gonna let the camera roll. First time really looking at the bees, other than transferring them from the green single deep 5-frame swarm trap. So I have not seen the queen at all. When I transferred them, it was pretty quick. So this is the first time I'm really having a chance to look at them. And if I find the queen, I'll try to cage her, mark her like usual, and then just get all the frames moved over. The nice thing about catching swarms, other than increasing the quantity of hives in your bee yard, and the fact that they are freebies, the other nice thing I like is you're only working 5 frames. Alright, 2 more frames to go. I don't see her at all yet, but there's a lot of bees in the box still, so she could be anywhere. Alright, last frame. I also have not seen any brood, so imagine there should be some kind of signs they're queen right at this point if they've been in here close to a week. So that's just something to keep in mind. So that's interesting. All right. So to show you what I'm talking about there being a lot of bees in the box. So she could be in there. She could be hanging out in there. I could have overlooked her as well. So with keeping time in mind, I'm just going to do what I usually do. Try to smoke them down just a little. Drive them down into the bottom box. And then bang whatever bees are hanging out into the 5 frame. Or into their new home, really. So yeah, there's a decent amount of bees hanging out in the bottom box there. Probably trying to avoid me. This might give you a better look. And she could be in here very easily, because they've stayed anchored to this box for, again, close to a week. So let me do what I usually do. Get most of them out of the box, close them up. And that's pretty much it for the transfer. So there you go, another video in the swarm number 6 series. So again, it's Wednesday. I'll be out here on Saturday if the weather permits, which as of now it looks like it will, to take another closer look at them with the intent and the hope to find a queen in order to determine they are queen right, get her marked, and that's that. So they're fanning, which means they are circulating their queen's pheromone. So maybe I just overlooked her, but again, I'll be in them in a few days and take a closer look to figure out if they're queen right. To get them transferred into some 10 frame equipment. They look like they are very ready for the change. So if my memory serves me right, I just moved them into this box, I believe during the week, because we've had some somewhat unusual late winter weather roll through that prevented me from getting out here last weekend. So I had to do some stuff during the week. I don't remember necessarily what day it was, but this was a pretty decent sized swarm that moved into one of the traps. And again, what I've been doing this year is I'll leave them in a trap for a few days so the queen can get situated, start laying some brood, and then I will move the swarm from the trap into this configuration, which is a double 5 frame deep. Leave them in here for about a week, and then transfer them into some 10 frame equipment. And I can already see the outer frames they're not really doing much with, which is fine, but I'm just going to get them transferred over and show you anything I come across. This is the very center frame, and it is packed with bees. This frame actually has some really nice weight to it, and it looks like they are filling a ton of cells with nectar. A lot of bees on this frame too, which basically just looks like they're working it to draw out some wax. And the very last frame in the top box, not really much going on, so I'll put that on the outside. But yeah, check this out. Get into the bottom box here in a second, but they look like they are packed with bees. Just do a quick first look of the bottom box. Yeah, they're definitely ready to get moved over into a 10 frame. I'm really hoping to find some nice brood frames. Ton of bees, ton of nectar. They've been in here for maybe, it may be close to a week since I've caught them. Also, just going off memory. That's a nice food frame. Let's see what the next one looks like. A ton of nectar as well. Okay, kind of interesting. I was starting to grow very concerned that I had a queenless swarm, which, you know, that's just something that doesn't make much sense. But if you didn't get a glimpse of her, I'm gonna try to find her again, because as soon as I took my eye off the frame, there she is, right there. All right, let me get her caged. Regular procedures. Set her aside, get her marked up. Yeah, nice looking queen. All right. Yeah, so I was starting to get concerned because I don't see much brood, capped brood, but let me take a look. Yeah, I don't see any eggs either, so that's kind of interesting. Either way, let me get the last few frames moved over and then get her marked, released, and call it a day for Swarm number 6. Yeah, no capped brood just yet, but things to come, I hope. Alright, try to get swarm number 6's queen transferred into the marking tool. Okay, almost like I know what I'm doing. Glad I primed the marker because there was a whole bunch of paint that ran out. That would have not been good. Experienced that before, and it's just devastating when you have a lot of paint run out on a queen and pretty much leads to her death. Alright, let's see. That's probably good enough. Let her dry off, and then get her transferred. Alright, she should be good to be released. There she goes. There she is. Alright, swarm number 6. Queen right with a marked queen.